A new trailer for Death Stranding just dropped, and I still have no freaking idea what this game is about. And to be honest, I don't think many other people do either. But the amazing thing about this is that we're all still incredibly excited about this game, and this is what I find particularly fascinating about it. Hideo Kojima is no doubt a powerhouse in this industry. His name attached to any title can be the difference between success and failure for a game teetering on the edge. But is this all that's going on? Is Death Stranding only being hyped because of the creative director who's behind it? Well, I've got some ideas, so let's jump in. And as always, I love reading your comments as well, so make sure that you leave your thoughts on this subject below. To understand why people are so excited by anything that Kojima does, we need to understand who Hideo Kojima is and what he represents. Kojima's career in the industry is long and illustrious. He initially wanted to make movies, but found himself fascinated by the video game industry and medium in the mid-1980s, which led to repeated attempts to get into the industry without much success. However, after a few years of trying, Kojima was able to get into Konami, a large software development company, as a designer within the home computer division. Kojima at the time was frustrated by this because he felt that these systems were too constricting and wouldn't allow him to make the games that he wanted to make. But alas, he kept his head down and worked away, eventually being placed in charge of a game titled Metal Gear after another designer dropped the project. Kojima worked his butt off and established Metal Gear as a classic game in addition to one of the first games ever that prioritized an avoidance of combat and confrontation over direct combat itself. As the decades went by, he continued working on games such as Snatcher and multiple games within the Metal Gear series, which slowly grew into an industry monolith. But everything grew to a head in 2011 when he was promoted to Executive Vice President and Corporate Officer for Konami Digital Entertainment. And then, in 2012, Kojima stated that he was interested in making a game in the Silent Hills universe. Soon after this, Konami gave him approval and the rights, and Kojima began work on the game, eventually releasing PT as a playable teaser for the game in August of 2014. But the demo was removed abruptly in April of 2015, and the Silent Hills game itself was cancelled without much of an explanation. By the way, I made a video recently discussing the recent remake of the PT demo, and so if you'd like to see that, I'll link it down in the description. It's still fairly unclear what exactly happened. Whatever it was not amicable at all. Metal Gear Solid 5 won multiple awards at the Game Awards in 2015, but Kojima, the game's director, was not even allowed by Konami to attend. Now, several versions of this whole tale have circulated. By some accounts, Kojima realized that he did not need Konami anymore to be successful in the industry. He told them this and that he was planning on leaving, and like a bitter ex-girlfriend, they decided to make the breakup as public and dramatic as possible. Another version of events is that Kojima voiced his frustrations with the way that Konami treated their employees and managers, which resulted in more strict and negative treatment, at which point Kojima decided to leave, and Konami, feeling betrayed by the very man that they had created, decided to kick and scream all the way down. Regardless of what actually happened, I would argue it doesn't matter what the true story is. As the old saying goes, perception is more powerful than reality, and here it stands true. No matter the reason behind the split, Kojima was looked at as the victim of a greedy and megalomaniacal I can't say this word. Megalomaniacal. Why did I type it if I can't pronounce it? Megalomaniacal corporation, which allowed a simple separation due to creative differences, result in a years-long display of bitterness and immaturity. Even if Kojima were Satan himself, Konami still handled the situation so bafflingly poorly that they would have lost the PR battle against the Prince of Darkness. Now, don't get me wrong. It seems to me that Konami was in fact in the wrong, and Kojima was right to want to leave. But the point stands that Konami handled this in the worst possible way, which made them the villain and made Kojima the martyr. Now that he was separated from the corporate behemoth that is Konami, Kojima was able to start looking for his own path. He was able to legally separate Kojima Productions from Konami Publishing thanks to some legal loopholes which made the studio, as an entity, incomplete without Kojima at the helm. Which makes sense because, you know, it wouldn't make sense to have Kojima Productions run by anyone other than Kojima. And so, with his studio now separate and having signed a new exclusivity deal with Sony to acquire funding, Kojima began work on his comeback title, Death Stranding. And by the way, the term comeback title is not mine. This has been circulated by IGN, GameSpot, and many others, including a lot of YouTubers. But how is this a comeback title? He just made Metal Gear Solid 5, which was very successful. This is only a comeback insofar as Death Stranding represents a middle finger to the evil and villainous corporation that is Konami. It's as much a comeback as Kim Kardashian had.
Everyone loves a good comeback story, right? Seabiscuit, the Mighty Ducks,
Robert Downey Jr., who
Rocky.
else? Yes.
Kim Kardashian?
Well,
In the video she gets cum on her back, I think.
Anyway, this process involved Kojima traveling the world, going to multiple different studios to research and license a new game engine to be used in Death Stranding. They visited a plethora of Sony exclusive studios and some others, eventually traveling to Guerrilla Games, the studio behind Horizon Zero Dawn. And famously, upon arrival, the Guerrilla Games staff didn't force Kojima to sit in a room while they went through a stat sheet and explained what percentage of the game's sales that they would want to take as royalties. Instead, they handed Kojima a small wooden box, and inside it, a thumb drive with the Decima Engine's code in it. It was a sign of unity between two creative entities who had never worked together. They had no reason to be so kind to each other, and yet they were. This has only furthered the narrative that Kojima was a martyr for the industry and that all of these great studios were helping him any way that they could. He became a gaming saint who deserved any and all support and assistance. And again, this isn't to say that he doesn't deserve this or that this title that has been attributed to him is wrong. In my opinion, this title is fair and he does deserve all of the support that he's been receiving. He's a brilliant developer and without a doubt one of the most important in our time. But the point still stands. Perception is more powerful than reality. Kojima's work on Death Stranding has largely been shrouded in mystery. No one really knows what the game is or how it works. Is it an action game or stealth-focused? Is it a walking simulator or something more fast-paced with a lot of cutscenes? No one really knows, yet the hype is through the roof. Kojima Productions just revealed a new trailer for the game, and it has left many of us more excited than we expected to be, including myself. And this is what triggered the creation of this video. The fact that I'm so excited for Death Stranding without having any idea of what it even is. It's left me baffled. I mean, I've almost completed my bachelor's degree in corporate finance. I make videos on video games all day, all week, all year. And at this point, I'm pretty good at deciphering what's going on behind the curtain. And to be honest, Death Stranding seems like a unique phenomenon. It's primarily being sold on its mystique and the fact that it's Kojima's comeback game, or at least it's perceived that way. But that's about it. Sure, the game is pretty, but what we've seen is nowhere near as clear a showcase of what game we are going to receive in November as the trailer for Horizon Zero Dawn, for example, or Days Gone's E3 presentation. Those gave players a clear idea of what they were going to be doing in the game and why they should be excited. But Death Stranding's trailers leave us all more confused than when we first heard of the game. Yet, we're more excited than ever. It's a fascinating example of the power of a man's name and the potency of mystery. I can't wait to play Death Stranding, and it's not in spite, but rather because of the game's mystique. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please consider subscribing and liking the video so that YouTube gets off its lazy ass and starts promoting the video. And as always, if you have any thoughts you'd like to contribute to the discussion, please leave them in the comments and I'll respond if I'm able. But with all that said, thank you again, I love you all, and I'll see you in the next video.